Okay. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Kaso, tawag nito. Magpasensya lang kami sa background kasi medyo maingay.
Sige.
Wala kasi ako sa
Okay.
bahay.
Sige. Thank you. So, allow me to do some introduction first. Okay, so I am your coach for tonight, or for this entire week, actually. I am Arnold, Coach Arnold. Um, and I will be handling the topic on online interview, how to conduct oneself in an online interview. So basically, my background is on human resource um, management and development. And one of the key function areas that I handle is actually the area of recruitment. Hence, I am quite familiar when it comes to doing job interviews. So uh, we will try to see to what extent can we somehow share or exchange ideas or knowledge about online interviews in the context of being a virtual assistant. Okay, so that's it. That's my oh, well, I'm connected now with the school, Philippine Women's College of Davao. I'm in the admissions office. I used to be in the Office of the Student Affairs and at the same time at the Human Resource Office. So that's it for my introduction. Since we have the luxury of time and our attendees for tonight are quite really few, so we could have some introduction also from your end. So who would like to start?
So good evening, sir. I guess I'll be the one to start.
Okay, thank you,
So
Jamar.
anyway, my name is yes, Jemar. So pasensya na din kayo. We pasensya na sa background, medyo maingay din. Nasa out of town kasi ako. So pero I'm trying to communicate pa din kasi although nasa out of town ako, I'm still wanted to pursue this kind of class kasi uh, I really need this job din kasi nakatatlong company na ako na in-applyan sa Upwork. Then wala pang nag-response. So I don't know, I'm kind of medyo nangihina na ako back. Tatlong company na yung i-applyan ko pero wala pang nag-respond. So by the way, sir, my name is Jemar. I'm 30 years old and I'm currently a team leader for call center agent. So basically, my account is for auto insurance. Then I also handle voice and non-voice account. So I'm the team leader. At the same time, this is my sideline again to do the virtual assistant management. Kasi based on personal experience, so pag sinabi natin virtual assistant kasi pag wala kang background, wala kang certificate, so wala kang it's really hard to apply. So we really need this kind of job and certificate. So that is why we're pursuing it.
Okay.
So at the same time, as one of the students, so ang masabi lang namin is, medyo marami-rami kami dito sa batch nito. Kaso majority of us is meron ng, tawag nito, meron ng job talaga. Then we do this as part-time. Pero once we see it na mas malaki yung dito, yung kitaan, so we're really trying to find, siyempre kung saan kami makakuha ng mas malaking source of income, so dito kami. So that is why we're looking forward na matapos namin itong course na virtual assistant. And especially, it will be a big help for us na mabigyan ng tip on about the especially the interview. So sa ngayon, sir, yun lang muna yung ma-share ko muna.
Okay, thank you,
And if
sir.
we have further questions, so we will be siguro open naman 4 PM siguro, sir, no? If we have questions.
Yeah.
Then, we still have the main GC. So pag meron kaming mga follow-up and additional question, so doon na lang namin ito-throw.
Okay. Sige, feel free to
Okay.
do that.
Sige po.
Anyways, Sir Gemma, I would like to ask, where are you based? Are you based in Davao or are you based somewhere else?
Nasa General Santos po ako. Pero yung commission-based company ko is nasa Turil, Ecortech Business Solution. Pero ano lang kasi siya, sir, tawag dito, commission-based lang siya. So it's like para siyang para
Insurance.
ang nature kasi ng job is kung wala kang sale, wala ka ding pag wala kang sale, wala kang benta, so wala ka ring sahod. So may
Okay.
time talaga na zero. So kaya ayun. So we decided to come up with this kind of this tawag nito, yung virtual assistant.
Okay. See, so you are connected with a BPO, right?
Yes, sir.
So
From since 2018 up until today, I've handled almost 5 to 6 accounts. So my first account is auto insurance talaga. Then I also handled healthcare, the medical Medicaid. Then I also have the what you call this, the dental coordinator, yung parang sa dentist appointment. Then I also have the back brace, more on health services. Then dito na ako nagtagal sa auto insurance company.
Okay.
From since 2019 up until today.
Okay. So you might be familiar, you are more than familiar with the job interview aspect of employment, I would presume.
Yes, sir. I've done a lot of interview with foreign employers. And then, yun, nakatry na din ako ng client na Pero siguro, so ang kailangan ko lang is more on kumbaga, the more tip for the interview process, siguro the better.
Okay.
Kumbaga, pag
Baka mas
marami
kami
ka
pang
kasing
mas,
alam, so
baka mas marami kaming matutunan from you, sir. Anyway,
di na
sige. Let's try to see. Okay, let's just keep our line of communication
forward na lang po
open.
talaga.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sir Jamar. Okay, who would like to go next? Is it Kevin or Eric? Kevin or Eric? Kevin, syrup, mic ko, sir. Oh, sige. You just try to key in na lang a little bit of your info. Kevin. And I'll just try to read what you key in the chat box. Okay, Eric, it's okay. Hi, Kevin. Are you still a student, Kevin, or already working? Eric, you could also do the same. Okay, to buy us some time, you could key in your info also in the chat box. So you're currently unemployed, Kevin. So, but you used to be employed. Were you employed before? Sige, mukha talagang may problema si Iwi. Let's just try to, okay, I'm a sales associate. Oh, for 10 years. Okay. So your age might be the same as that of Gemar. Is it right to
Actually,
assume that?
sir, me and Kevin, we've been through SMCP General Santos Sales Asking.
So
last
magka-grupo lang kayo nila Kevin.
So, si Kevin yung nag-refer sa akin dito for this kind of thing.
I see. Okay. How about Eric? Is he within the same circle? No po. So, just a little bit of a background, Eric. Are you still a student or are you already a professional? Or what's your affiliation? Sige. Just feel free to key in your info, Erica. I just tried to start na lang the presentation file, the presentation that I've prepared. Okay, so once again, good evening, everyone. So this is all about tonight. We're going to discuss about how to ace oneself in an online job interview. So allow me to share screen. Okay, are you seeing my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if you are into BPO, so what I am about to share with you is not something really new. Okay, so this could be a refresher for you, or a recap of what you have been into, given the industry that you are in. Okay, but nonetheless, just allow me to go through this motion of giving you a bird's eye view as to what an online interview is, how different it is from the typical face-to-face job interview. We've been practically doing online interview for several years, even before the pandemic. We've been doing in the world of human resource management and development. Online interview is not really something new. It has been there for decades already. The variety would just come into play as to the platform being used and to what extent. Okay. But it gained momentum, or it gained more popularity when the COVID-19 came over, when the pandemic conquered the world. So COVID-19 has impacted a lot of things, including how we restrict face-to-face interactions. So um, the virus cannot be transmitted via online. So everyone was really prompted to switch to this online thing. So many interviews are now taking place virtually, especially in the early stages of the talent search. So in recent years, online job interviews have become more popular, and many companies are regularly using technology to conduct preliminary interviews. So during the pandemic, job interviews for nearly every stage of the hiring process became the norm. So when we say becoming the norm, it is now a fundamental feature or a fundamental phase uh, uh, of the whole process of the recruitment thing. So while online interviews are similar to traditional in-person meetings, they have some major differences that candidates should be prepared for. And what are those differences that we need to be prepared for? So those will be the things that we're going to find out. So the hiring process is changing rapidly as our world shifts to remote work. While the focus on online hiring has accelerated in recent months, the ability to manage the entire hiring process virtually is not a new concept, as what I've mentioned earlier. Online interviews are just one facet of the hiring process that has helped companies hire better teams. So in a recent survey conducted by the Office team, it was revealed that 63% of HR managers would use or have used video interviewing in the hiring process. So video interviewing is just one example of how recruiters are reaching lots of candidates remotely. And I'm pretty sure that you are familiar with this kind of online job interview. So from pre-screening interviews to pre-qualification tests, the online interview process can save recruiters time and money. So now how do we balance our acts? Okay, so before the pandemic, we are so accustomed with the face-to-face um, interaction of things. Came the pandemic, we somehow been disconnected from human interaction, so we switched to um, virtual interactions. How are virtual job interviews different? So if you are preparing for a job interview, and especially if you've interviewed in the past, you may be wondering how virtual interviews differ from in-person interviews. So job interviews have always been daunting for employees of all experience levels because they include a fast first impression and could put you on the spot to prove yourself. Okay, I don't know whether, have you experienced being interviewed face to face, Sir Kevin or Sir Jamar or Sir Eric? Diba parang we are always parang in anticipation in terms of giving the best impression, first impression to the interviewer, right? Okay, it's quite difficult to have that, to attain that first impression in the moment of truth in terms of first impression when we do face-to-face interview. But it's a because you feel the physical presence of the interviewer. Unlike in an online interview, there's somehow a middleman or a middle component that would exist between the interviewer and the interview, and that is through the aid of a computer or through a technology. So uh, the degree of establishing that moment of truth or the first impression thing is somehow diverted, okay, because of the existence of this computer-aided technology. Anyways, there is an even higher chance for things to go wrong if your prospective employer wants to chat face-to-face online. Not only do you face potential connection issues or tech problems, but it can be harder to read someone virtually. You will have to change some of the things you think about during the interview. You may even find the format different as well. Diba, I think you've already heard testimonies of people using social media na parang, bakit parang iba siya? Iba ang pagkakilala ko sa kanya sa Facebook sa pag-meet namin in person. Diba? Yung may mga ganung mga testimonies. Or you could always somehow like hear people saying na hindi pa rin mapapalitan ng sulat kamay. Hindi pa rin mapapalitan ng email ang pagsusulat kamay na liham. Ang liham na isunulat gamit ang kamay. Okay, so yung mga ganun. So may mga plus and minus points talaga when we try to compare online and the physical. Depending on the type of online interview you are participating in, there are some instances where you are just recording your answers instead of conversing with a live person on the other end. This can be stressful for some candidates. Okay, because somehow some candidates would be basing their answers or would be basing their expressions or their interactions on what the interviewer or the other party or the other individual would somehow be manifesting or exhibiting. Okay. Going through an online job interview for the first time can be scary, but just remember that being brave enough to take the plunge and show initiative during an unfamiliar interview process is already a positive step in the right direction. So there's no way to conquer your fear, but to really try to do things that you haven't done before. Okay. So if you haven't been exposed with online interview, for you to feel confident in such kind of interview, you'd have to go through the process of online interview. That's why towards the end of this course, maybe let's say on Thursday, on Friday, we will be dedicating those 2 days for actual, for a pseudo online interview, okay, a mock online interview. Okay, so what is again an online interview or online job interview? So it is an online interview that is conducted remotely through an online chat, video, or audio platform. So take note of the keywords: remote, online chat, online video, or online audio platform. Okay. So sometimes called a digital interview, the online interview is mainly defined by the type of technology or platform used to conduct the interview. So what are these? Among the many platforms, the video is the most popular, so it dominates the online interviewing space. But the key to making these platforms work for you is learning how to use these tools strategically. Okay, so you really have to, again, experience is always the best teacher. It's a timeless um, um, principle that is applicable regardless of, regardless of the time or the period that you're at. So you really have to be well versed, or you have to be familiar the list, okay, at least with video interview, because this is the most popular type of online interview. Okay, let's have some amusement. So what are the various types of online job interview platforms? So you have the live video, the pre-recorded video, you have the video resume, the skills assessment, the live chat with the chatbot. So what is this live video? So the most common type of online interview is a video call. The interview will take place over a platform like Skype, Zoom, or Google Hangouts. This is not dissimilar to a face-to-face interview, but has the advantage of allowing a company to include remote candidates who can make it to the office for an in-person meeting. Basically, when we do online interview, the main thing that is being addressed is the geographical barrier. When we say geographical barrier, um, distance of the distance between the interviewee and the interviewer. Okay, so it is somehow being addressed by online interview. So whether you are as the interviewee is in Asia and your interviewer is in Europe, okay, there's no problem at all when you engage into online interview, such as live video. Okay, so again, distance is being addressed when we do online interview. Aside from distance, you also have convenience. So like you don't need to travel anymore to go to the um to meet the interviewer. You just have to have a good internet connection and a good hardware or software, and then you can proceed after the pre-recorded interview. Okay, pre-recorded video interview. Candidates get a few minutes to read over interview questions and then record their answers for the recruiter to view at their convenience. It's also known as a one-way video interview. This format typically includes a time frame and can be curated to add a certain number of redo recordings depending on the company's requirements. The questions often serve as initial screening for employers and can easily be combined with the skills assessment. Okay, so some companies, yeah, most companies actually would use a certain online interview software. So one feature of that would be pre-recorded video. So you will be given um initial questions for you, uniform set of questions for you to answer for each of the candidate would answer, and it will be recorded, and depending on the answers that you have recorded, then you will be assessed as to whether or not you could move to the next step of the hiring process. Okay. Questions so far?
So far, nasundan naman namin.
Okay, thank you. Video resume. You just have to, just have to think of it as something like you are trying to narrate and record in a video format all information that you used to write in a piece of paper. Okay, if you, like for example, if you have a printed resume, you just have to convert that into something like video format by somehow citing your, by doing oral citation of the information that you have written down on a printed resume. So video resumes are another example of screening methodology employers can utilize in place of traditional interview. So a recruiter creates a set of guidelines on what the video should include and requests candidates to submit an introduction similar to an elevator pitch. While you may receive a few well-rehearsed answers, it will give you a sense of communication skills as well as confidence in body language. What is the skills assessment? So an online coding interview or simulation of job-related skills can help recruiters get a clearer picture of a candidate's talent in a traditional job interview. As we've covered, traditional interviews are not a predictor of performance. Rather, the best way to find the right new hire is to test job-related skills in context using an online interview platform. Okay, so for example, with I think so for the BPO, tama ba? Outright yung
Yes, sir.
interview nyo mismo, phone interview, is part already of the screening process in terms of whether or not you're good in with your communication skills, or whether or not you are good in terms of substance in replying to questions asked, or whether or not you are quite attentive to the interviewer. Okay, so being attentive, being mindful, communication skills, those are part of the skill set that you need to go through, that you need to be assessed with in order for the interviewer to determine as to whether or not you are qualified for the position that you are applying for. Live chat is a chat-based recruitment. It's actually gaining popularity as more millennials and Generation Z employees enter the talent market. Recruiters are turning to tools like WeChat, WhatsApp, and Facebook Messenger to streamline pre-screening and early-stage interviews in the hiring process. Okay. Chatbot naman is an AI recruitment tool that can take over the initial candidate screening step and post options for candidates to upload video and voice responses. Okay. Para siyang yung usually na-encounter mo if you want to if you want to give a feedback like in a telecom company, so on and so forth. So, or if you have some concerns and ang kunyari for example sa Pag-ibig, gumagamit na sila ng chatbot if you have concerns related to your Pag-ibig account, so chatbot na yung initially entertain yung concern. Okay, so regardless whether you're into video conferencing, live chat, chatbot, etc., okay, you always have to remember that the star of the show is not the computer that you are using, it's not the tool that you are that you are using, it's not the interviewer, but it's always you, the interviewee. So whether it's face-to-face or online, the star of the show when it comes to a job interview is always the interviewee. So the interviewee is the central focus in an online job interview. From his or her standpoint, preparation is the springboard for an online job interview, while professionalism and mindfulness are the fundamental keys for the entire duration of the online interview. Okay, so for you to really become a star of the show when it comes to online interviews, you really need to observe, adequate preparation for the interview. Then you need to observe professionalism and mindfulness all throughout the duration of the online job interview. When we say professionalism, it would somehow include punctuality. It would also include um, dressing up for the occasion. It would also include um, being polite, being courteous, so on and so forth. Mindfulness would include attention to details, would include uh, you are uh, you are quite sensitive as to the responses of your interviewer. Mindfulness is also associated to like um, always taking up the cue based on what is the response of the interviewer, and from that you might need to change or modify your answer, or you make a follow-up or a supplemental answer to the question, so on and so forth. Okay, so you really need to, if you have these three combinations present, then you are good to go and you really might be the star of the show. Questions so far?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. Sige, let me just proceed to the next. Jem, okay. Jem, can you somehow share some of your experiences when you had your actual job interview, online interview, if you don't mind?
The last, what you call this? The last campaign that I was interviewed for is yung sa labas. I was not expecting kasi the one that hiring is ano po, yung tawag nito, Spanish representative for a debt account. So nakapasa ako sa initial interview with the tawag nito here, supervisor here in naka-base lang kasi siya sa sa Zamboanga. Then nung final interview ko, I was interviewed by a real, kumbaga Spanish, na talaga siya, yung Spanish tawag nito, Spanish citizen. So doon ako na-shock kasi akala ko we were just reading the script on the monitor. So nung time na nag-interview na ako using the Spanish communication, so medyo nanganga ako kasi yung in-applyan ko pala is Spanish representative, so hindi ako nakapasa.
Okay. Sige.
Pinaka-latest
But was it a pure video chat video
Zoom, through Zoom.
through Zoom? Okay. Okay. And then were there issues or concerns along the way, like interconnectivity?
Wala naman. So hindi lang talaga nag-success kasi they really need a person who can fluently speak in Spanish.
Okay.
I know how to speak Spanish but not so fluent. So
Okay.
pag meron akong script na binabasa, so masusundan ko siya. But in terms of communicating with the client and the customer, so doon ako nahirapan kasi may mga scenario siya na binigay which is sobrang lalim na kasi nung conversation na na in Spanish. So hindi ko talaga siya na-gets. So yun.
Okay.
Kumbaga mga basic lang na
So it was basically a communication cultural barrier thing.
Yes, language barrier. Doon ako
Language barrier. Okay. Sige, thank you, Gemma.
Sayang din yun. Kasi virtual assistant talaga yun. Like appointment setter. Then we also communicate with the client. kumbaga parang ano siya, parang real estate.
Mm.
Then yun konti lang sana yung time na ano na mag-communicate with them, pero you're using their language kasi not an English, so it's a Spanish account. So yun yung pinaka-latest na nag-applyan, which is hindi ako then nag-ano din naman ako kasi malaki na shock ako kasi masyado malaki yung offer din, sayang. Kaya yun, kahit wala akong medyo background, kaya gi-grab ko na siya.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sunggab lang ng sunggab. Then later on na whatever happens. Okay, sige. Thank you, Gemma, for sharing. Anyway, so now we will proceed as to getting familiar with some types of let me see. Okay, how do we prepare for an online interview? Okay. See. Okay. Allow me to share screen again. Okay, so how do we prepare for an online interview? Is it really something different from the ones we got to used to like in face-to-face interview? So let's try to see. Okay. So your best quote that would somehow reflect when your approach. Okay, it's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. So Neil Armstrong. Unless you really take that step. Okay, so when it comes to getting familiar with online interviews, so you would end up nowhere. Okay. In preparing for an online interview, the very basic, since it's a computer-aided platform, so we really need to do some technical tests. Okay, test run with your computer. So in this day and age, technology can be overwhelming, and with online interviews especially, you need to feel comfortable using whichever method your prospective employee prefers: Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, etc. Once you're comfortable with the program you'll be using, it's a good idea to test your internet connection as well as your audio and sound capabilities to make sure everything works properly. In addition, be sure to find an area with sufficient lighting so that those conducting the interview can see you clearly. So before logging on, ask the interviewer what the format is. So here are the few questions to ask to make sure you're prepared. Is it an audio interview or both audio and video? Is there someone on the other end of the video, or are the questions pre-recorded? If they are pre-recorded, how many chances do I get to record my answer? And what do I do, or who do I call if I start having technical difficulties? Okay, sir, is it really okay to ask these questions to the interviewer? Yes. They would understand it. They would even appreciate you if you try to clarify things before the actual interview. And actually, this could be to your advantage because it would somehow give them a hint of as to how interested you are to really get the position, and you are trying to manifest mindfulness. Okay, you are trying to be mindful um in terms of the technical aspect of the interview process. Okay, once you have done those preliminaries, then you can find a friend or a family member you can use that platform to connect with. For platforms like Zoom and Skype, they are pretty user-friendly, but it helps to feel familiar with the interface before you get on with your employer and realize you're trying to respond and still muted. Okay, this is a common mistake. Like for example, in a Zoom setting, that we tend to forget that we are still muted, and then we are starting already blah 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 blah. So yung pala hindi nakamute ka pa pala, so parang oops, ano na kaagad yon, parang minus points. So you really need to be familiar with the user interface. Saan dito ang icon for mute or unmute, saan dito yung icon for or yung button for video on or video off, so on and so forth. Okay, so you really need to be familiar. And to boost your confidence or to gain confidence, you might want to try it first with your friends or with your family members. Okay. Now next is picking up a perfect spot for lighting. So make sure it isn't too dark, but also stay away from overhead lights during the interview as much as possible. If possible, try to settle down near a window with your face towards the light. You always want to put your best foot, or in this case, face forward. Okay, you have to observe that, parang the limitation when it comes to video conferencing or online interview. One of the limitations would be that of parang only the upper half of your body is to be captured on screen. So since hindi yung buong katawan mo or yung buong self mo, so you at least have to maximize the situation by having good lighting. Okay, that would somehow show the best side of your upper body. Okay, so there are some do's when it comes to lighting specifications. So natural or window light is best because it gives the best or most accurate color. You have to turn off any overhead lights if you're able to sit by a window because they will add a yellow or blue tint depending on the kind of bulb. And then light on your face will highlight your eyes and facial features. If there are do's, there are also don'ts when it comes to lighting specifications, among of which would include lighting from above or behind will cause strange shadows on your face and a freeze halo out of your hair. Lighting from behind or the side will cause a glare, making it difficult for the interviewer to see you. And lighting from behind or the side can also cause a glare on your screen and make it hard for you to see the interviewer. So it's always finding the right spot when it comes to lighting. Okay, and of course, moderation. Natural lighting is also the best. A pro tip, so scope out a good spot to conduct your online meeting the day before to make sure you're not rushing around before the interview. Make sure you have a stable table for your laptop. You don't want it bouncing around or wobbling during the interview. You may need to use a box to lift the laptop up so that it gets from just below your shoulders to just above your head for a perfectly framed interview shot. If you're using a tablet or a smartphone, use a device tripod to hold it steady. Now, okay. Human as we are, since we have the sense of sight, so we really, in one way or another, very visual. But in this particular case, when it comes to online interview, we need to forgo virtual backgrounds. Okay, no matter how cute the backgrounds are, it somehow they somehow capture our favorite colors, favorite shapes, or favorite images. But we have to forgo virtual backgrounds when we are into online job interviews. So you may feel tempted to pick out a cute background on the platform, but please don't. Backgrounds are distracting and unprofessional for a first-time interview. In fact, you want to choose the most professional area of your home for the interview, and then feel free to stage it just for the interview. Okay, there's another pro tip. So once you've identified the places that offer the best lighting, you will want to carefully examine the backgrounds to choose the best spot. Remove any clutter. Avoid odd things in the background like a bed or a toilet. Okay, you don't want, but it's not possible. why is this greatly discouraged, like having a bed or a toilet in the background? First and foremost, it doesn't speak about professionalism. Like, the bed or the toilets, would somehow suggest you're being like lazy, or you're being not so interested, so on and so forth. And it may seem obvious, but sometimes people just don't really think about the first impression their home is making. So if you want to really attain that good impression, or capture that moment of truth, and have the send an aura of being smart, or really being serious on the matter at hand. So you can have a background of books. Okay, books can make you look smart. Tactful home decor can give the appearance of being put together, and artsy pieces in the background can make you look cultured. So when we say tactful home decor, these are basically modern, postmodern minimalistic home decorations. And when you talk about artsy pieces, you just have like one good painting, okay, in the background. So that would somehow suggest that, oops, okay, this person is somehow a cultured person, or is into the culture and the arts. And that would speak good about you, speak a lot about it, favorable things about you. And then a blank wall is even acceptable because it keeps the focus on you. Okay. But you have to also make sure as to the color of the blank wall. Okay. It has to somehow complement the color of your skin tone, or of your um attire, so on and so forth. So if you already like been wearing a dark attire, for example, as just like the one I'm wearing now, so it is suitable to have a light background, a light colored background. Okay, so there has to be a contrast. Otherwise, if there would be if there wouldn't be a contrast, it would give an impression that you are camouflage, a camouflage impression to the interviewer, and you might give a confusion to the interviewer. Okay, so remove distractions. So silence anything that could interfere with your conversation, including your phone and email notifications on your computer. It is rude to be interrupted during an interview unless you have an emergency situation that your potential employer is already going to be aware. So remove distractions. And in this age of social media, one great distraction is really our cell phones, or even opening accounts, our social media accounts in one unit, or in one laptop, or in one desktop computer unit. So you have to remove all those distractions, so for you to really have full attention or focus on your online job interview. Okay, another pro tip. So make sure no one else is around when you are completing your interview. Your interview, including your pets. So no matter how you love your dog, your pet dogs, or pet cats, okay, they really have to be kept away, okay, when you are into online job interviews. Interviewers have seen cats walk across the computer screen and close the session. Half-clothed people walking across the room in the background, or heard children screaming in the next room. Don't jeopardize your career by not being prepared. If you can't ensure people aren't going to interrupt you, it might be best to either take your interview to another location, or make sure your roommates or family can plan to be gone for the day. Okay. Now, okay. Part of professionalism is logging on early and trying to do some test setup. So being on time is really being about 10 minutes early for a virtual first time interview. You may want to make sure you are ready to go 15 to 20 minutes early. If this sounds like a lot, just remember, in a normal interview, you would probably be getting ready, driving, parking, and finding the right room before the interview. Okay, so yeah, usually in a face-to-face interview, you really have to be at the venue 15 or 20 minutes before your appointed time. But for an online interview in which you don't need to really spend time traveling, or you don't have to worry about traffic, so on and so forth, um the convenience is at your fingertips. So 10 minutes would just be okay in terms of being ready or being on time. Okay, 10 minutes early. In this situation, setting up the computer and logging in is essentially the parking part of your interview process. Make sure everything works, and then you can hang out until about 5 to 10 minutes before the scheduled. A pro tip, so always act like your interviewer can hear and see everything you are doing. Getting in the habit of feeling watched during the session will help you not do something strange because you forget people are in the room or don't realize your camera is on. From the moment you log in until the moment you close the screen, just assume they can hear and see everything. Okay. I remember a friend of mine. Um, yeah, she just forgot. She was quite somehow distracted. Uh, she thought that our online Zoom meeting was done, and then meron siyang, meron siyang kinaiinisan doon sa meeting. Nakalimutan niya na hindi siya nakamute. So alam mo yun, naka-utter siya ng not so pleasant words. Buti na lang, hindi niya nasali yung, okay, so yun. And then you don't want to you don't want to leave a sour taste in one's mouth, okay, by doing that. So next. So you sit up and dress professionally. So even though you're not meeting your interviewer in person, make sure to dress for success and sit up straight. Do not slouch. Okay. So first impressions matter, and your appearance can really make or break yours. Okay. So for female, we somehow like avoid or just greatly discourage spaghetti straps or those with showing your shoulders on and so forth. Okay. So dressing up for an online interview is just similar to dressing up in a face-to-face interview. But you just need to worry though on the dressing up your upper body. Okay, you need not like worry about whether or not your shoes should be shined, or whether or not you should be wearing black slacks or navy blue slacks, so on and so forth. Okay, so yun. Pro tip: don't forget to smile. Okay, since the body language is limited to the upper portion of your body, so and what is more emphasized is your face. So to somehow give a positive disposition, don't forget to smile. Whether you are talking to an actual person or recording your answers, smile the way you would during an in-person interview. Wear clothes that are flattering and fit the job you are interviewing. When in doubt, dress up rather than dress down, especially for virtual interviews. When we say dress up, it's like, observing collar, shirts with collar, or, polo, polo shirts with collar. Yung dress down is actually equivalent to parang wala siyang collar or parang nakapambahay lang. So that's dressing down. Not only will sitting up and smiling make you look more professional and engaged, they will actually help you feel more powerful, energetic, and more confident. Good posture makes you feel more confident, puts you in a better mood, and communicates openness. Okay. Sa kasi, sa pag face-to-face interview, nagsa-start na tinitingnan yung, pag sinabing good posture, nagsa-start na yan siya the moment you walk into the interview room. Paglakad mo, okay, whether are you walking with confidence, on and so forth, okay, kung naka-slouch ka ba, or alam mo yun, yung hindi naka-straighten ang back mo, so ganun. So, kung ano yung dapat ginagawa sa online, sa face-to-face interview, ganun din yung ginagawa. Dapat that's also how you should carry yourself when you do an online job interview. Calm your nerves. How do you calm your nerves? So practice your main talking points if you're nervous, and remember to slow down. It can be easy to talk over people on online calls. You may need to be slightly louder and more emphatic than you would be in person, since the screen is going to reduce a little bit of the impact you would have in person. Okay, so you have to just calm your nerves. Chill lang, relax lang. Kasi naman, expect mo na hindi ka kakagatin. or masasapwa ka ng yung interviewer. Okay? Kasi nga, you are remote from each other. You're way too distant from each other. So all the more you should be more calm. Okay, hindi ka dapat sense so on and so forth. Pro tip. So even though this particular interview is hosted online, don't forget to review your traditional interview skills. You'll want to have answers prepared to some of the more common interview questions and examples in case they ask for specifics. Before the interview, try standing in power poses to channel your nerves into feel-good energy. Science has shown that these poses can help you think on the go and perform well under stress. Okay, again research study, science has shown that these poses, okay, power poses by standing in power can help you think on the go and perform well under stress. Okay. Now, ito naman medyo mahirap kasi nga kaharap mo webcam. Okay? So, look at your interviewer in the eye, quote and quote. Okay? In the online environment, eye contact is important even though it isn't true eye contact. Instead of looking at the person on the screen, itong ginagawa ko ngayon, okay, look directly into the webcam and stay engaged. Just know where the lens of your webcam is. Okay. It can be tricky to look at the camera when you see a person on the screen, but looking at the screen will make you look like you are staring down since screens are usually below cameras. If you've taken a selfie before, then you probably know the deal, but somehow video is harder. Ito siya, kailangan niyo talaga siyang i-practice at nang i-practice. Kasi our natural tendency really is when we do live like video, we tend to look at what is on screen rather than what is in the rather than look at the webcam itself. Okay, and to establish really an eye-to-eye contact, it's actually setting your eyes directly to the webcam. Okay, to the webcam. It's not trying to, and peripheral view na lang yung kung ano man yung itsura ng iyong interviewer. Okay? Siguro you're familiar with K-dramas, right? And K-dramas or whatever non-Filipino drama series. So, di ba kung may mga subtitles, sobrang sanay na natin, parang kahit pinabasa natin yung subtitle, alam na natin din yung the way the actors would somehow portray their roles, their facial expressions, the manner of speaking, so on and so forth, the production set, so on and so forth. Even if we are trying to read the subtitles. So parang ganun lang yung trick. Instead of yung subtitle, tingnan nyo yung webcam sa taas. Okay? So, pro tip, if you are uncomfortable, put a picture of someone you know up by the webcam. This way you feel as though you're chatting with a friend. If you have a webcam on a stand, you can even place it in front of the person to make this a little easier. So for example, if your mom or your dad somehow gives you, boosts your confidence, so you put a picture of your mom or of your dad on top of the webcam, and isipin mo na sila yung kausap mo. Okay, but actually that would give an impression, that would give an illusion that you're actually you are somehow looking straight at the camera. Okay. Kung crush, sir, pwede ba yung crush? Nako, ano nga yung isang tip kanina, avoid distraction. So baka instead na makatulong, baka mas ma-endanger pa kayo, ma-distract kayo. So, okay. So, and then you just have to listen carefully. So earlier we mentioned about being mindful, okay, or mindfulness. So this one manifestation of mindfulness is actually listening carefully. So it's easy to miss something important during an interview. So it's also sometimes very difficult to interrupt without an embarrassing mess of overlapping sound bites. Avoid weird situations by jotting down keyboards or short reminder phrases if you want to remember a point or circle back to ask a question. Try not to let your note taking interfere with the flow of the interview. If you do miss something that was said, make sure you ask. There is no harm in asking, but you just have to make sure that what you ask is really relevant, not with, not outside the bounds of the interview. Okay. Pro tip: sometimes devices of speakers that don't get very loud. You may want to consider connecting your laptop to external speakers or even headphones to get clearer sound. If you have any gaming or podcasting microphones, using one could really improve the quality of your voice for the call. Okay, what is this engaged body language that we are to use? Okay, any idea? Hi, Miss Rochelle. Okay, are we still okay, guys? Oh, I don't have a mic. Oh, it's okay. It's broken. Okay, okay. Understandable. But I do, for those who somehow have some concerns with like microphone or video something, I just hope by Thursday and by Friday, you could address those things because um we will be having mock online interview, and microphone and cam is somehow a necessity when we do mock interview. Okay. Sige. So, okay lang, Miss Rochelle. By the way, before I continue, Miss Rochelle, earlier, the two gentlemen, or two or three gentlemen, were able to give a brief background of themselves. So, would you also mind sharing a little bit of yourself? Like, are you still a student? Are you already working? Where are you connected and located? Just key in your answers. Okay, you're from Davao. Okay. I'm from Davao too. We're in Davao. Oh, senior high school student. Okay. Have you graduating, or still in grade 11, incoming grade 12? Okay, graduating. Okay. So, best of luck, okay, for your graduation. See, let me continue now. So, use engaged body language. So, similar to the power poses, using engaged body language during the interview is going to help you answer with confidence and energy. Even if the call is just over the phone, the right posture will help you sound more friendly, open, and sure of yourself. On the flip side, slouching can cause you to feel tired and want to be done. Crossing your arms or your legs will look like you aren't fully engaged and can actually cause a kind of mental block that makes it hard to really take in the information. The idea of having to straighten your posture is actually for the energy, the waves, okay? The energy um to make to make you alert, and to make you attentive, is yun. Dapat kasi pag naka-slouch ka, medyo and yung transmittal from your brain to the other parts of your body, so they slow down. So you just have to straighten your back, and then Do not cross your arms, okay? Do not slouch, and do not cross your legs, okay? Even if hindi siya makikita. Kasi parang ano yan, may flow of energy kasi yan. But once you are like hands on your lap or and then your 2 feet on the floor, okay, and then naka-straighten ang back mo. It somehow gives a positive transmission internally inside your body. And it would be translated as to how you would project yourself during the interview. Okay. Pro tip, make sure you're sitting up straight with your shoulders back and head up. This is something you will want to practice when you are getting your spot picked out. Make sure that your computer or camera is positioned at eye level so you don't have to lean over or duck down to get in the frame. You may need to place it on a box or a stand to get it to a perfect height. Don't rely on notes. Okay. Yeah, there are some um parties or individuals that would say that um you need to do a little bit of research as to the company or about the company in which you're applying for, so on and so forth. Okay, but you don't rely on notes. You do mental notes. Okay. While you might take a few notes of your own during the interview, don't write down a list of things you want to say. Too many notes will be awkward and make the interview seem forced, or it would add up to your confusion or to your being feel to your feeling getting nervous, so on and so forth. So you just don't rely so much on your notes as much as possible. You just have key points and get familiar with those key points and do some mental notation. Okay. Pro tip, you won't want to have detailed notes, but you will want to have a few questions jotted down so you are prepared. You may even include some stats or competitor notes that you saw in your research. Don't feel like you need to rush into answers. Give yourself a second or two to breathe before answering the questions. Not only will the short pause give you a second to organize your thoughts, it will ensure you are not cutting in on top of the interviewer. Remember, when you are nervous, you are more likely to go faster than when you are comfortable, so slow it down. And then be yourself when you are in an interview. You don't have to pretend to be someone else. Honesty is still the best policy. So you want to come across as genuine and authentic during an interview. So this is your opportunity to express yourself off paper. Your resume already got your foot in the door. Now you get to show who you are as an individual doing good in the online interview. Being overly stiff is a pretty common response to nerves. Try to loosen up your mindset and take cues from your interviewer. When you choose your outfit for the meeting, for example, try to dress professionally without squashing your personal style. Pro tip, knowing who you are as a professional is really important. Stop and think deeply about your personal strengths, weaknesses, and then traits. You can even make a list ahead of time to get your thoughts organized. These are likely going to be questions asked during the interview anyway. When you have a better feel for what you want to communicate, you'll be better and able to let your strengths naturally shine through. Okay. Make connection. This is not about the internet connection, but you're making connection with the interviewer. So how do you do that? Nerves will make you naturally focus on yourself, knowing that is probably going to be the case. Make sure you pay special attention to the interviewer. So try to pick up on cues from her, making a personal connection over interests, hobbies, or even the weather can help you start building the professional relationship. Okay. So like you can say, oh, how's the weather there? How's the weather from your end, sir or ma'am? Okay, because from my end, it's quite humid today. So I hope it's not humid there. Yung mga ganung ka-eklabong lang na just to somehow build that initial rapport with the interviewer. And of course, to ease out your tension. Just like you thought about your background, the interviewer may have as well. You might be able to spot something of interest behind their desk. You may prefer to talk about the weather, as I have said. Write down 5 questions beforehand. So these are the questions that you would like to ask the interviewer if he or she um, wouldn't be somehow touching on what you would like to hear. Okay. So prepare by doing some research on the company and industry. Try to think of 5 good questions that aren't about salary or benefits. You can have those too, but they are too easy. They don't let the interviewer know you've done your homework and you're serious about the job. You want to think up 5 in case some of them are naturally answered along the way. Most interviewers ask at the end if you have questions, and having 2 or 3 questions to ask will show you put thought into this. Okay. Pro tip: ask questions that show you would be an engaged and valuable member on the team, ready to get to work as soon as you are hired. Okay, so follow up afterward. I thought typical of a Filipino, we don't make follow ups when we make when we are into job interviews. Okay, but actually it's also, as an applicant, it's always also our right to make a follow up. So showing your interest and dedication can go a long way in convincing a hiring manager that you are the right person for the job. Well, you don't want to be aggressive, desperate, or obnoxious. You don't want to come off as passive, apathetic, or lackadaisical either. Before the interview is over, ask when they will likely to get back to you. If they don't get back to you by the named date, try waiting another day or two before reaching out. Always follow up with a brief thank you a few days after the interview. Reassert how interested you are in the position and how much you appreciated their time. Pro tip: most of the time, sending an email is going to be the best way to connect with an employer because it is less demanding. They can read it in their free time. Keep your contact short and include how much you appreciate the interview moment. Do not use a generic boiler boilerplate email. Personalize your thank you follow up so that you can come off as genuine, etc. Tip. Okay. Get the details. How long is the interview expected to be? Which online service does your interviewer use? Will it be a video call or just an audio call? How many people will interview you? Would it be a panel or would it just be a one-on-one interview? They may not offer much information to you unprompted, so ask your interviewer and don't be afraid to call back if you need to. Choose a location for your interview. One of the most important things to consider when preparing for an online job interview is your environment. Okay, so please avoid showing an unmade bed or to laundry or cluttered office, for example. It wouldn't look professional. Okay, it would also be distracting on the part of your interviewer. Not the kind of lasting impression you want to leave, I'm pretty sure. Then find a spot with a neutral background like a blank wall. Carry out traditional interview preparations. Do everything you would to prepare for a face-to-face job interview. So, like for example, get enough sleep, get a good diet, so on and so forth. Thorough research. Think of some questions you might want to ask in return. Review the job description and your own resume to help you match your answers to the specific things. And do a little research into the person or people you will be speaking with. Bonus tip. Bottom line, everything would boil down to don't be stressed too much. Online conferences are commonly used in the first round of candidate interviews because they save the company time and money. They help level the playing field for applicants. The good news is that there is more than likely going to be an in-person interview in the next round, but in the case of like virtual assistants, this is not quite possible, giving you the chance to meet your prospective employers. And and what do you think is the best part of an online interview? You don't need to worry about a firm handshake. What you need to worry is how to keep a good eye contact with the person through the webcam. Okay, so that's practically it. Questions so far?
No, sir.
None? Okay. Sige. Is it okay if we take a 15-minute break? You try to like somehow absorb muna the overwhelming inputs that you have. And then let's try to discuss things after 15 minutes. Okay, would that be okay? Can I have a show of a thumbs up sign? 15-minute break muna po tayo. Thank you. Okay. So do you have questions so far? Fine.
So far, not yet, sir.
Okay, sige. I'd just like to play a video from YouTube. Just to somehow recap what we've discussed for tonight. Okay. So allow me to share screen.
And like you're preparing for a job interview, if you feel like you need,
Is the audio audible?
it's also like the virtual.
Yes, sir.
To
Okay.
get hired into today's job market, it is essential to master the art of the virtual interview. And in this video, you'll be taken by example. I'll share how I prepare, offer a few little tips and tricks, and you'll get to see an actual interview from start to finish. We're going to have really good. This is job science. So today, I'll be interviewing relevant marketing, copywriter, trendy animation company. Although virtual interviews do come with some new challenges, the fundamentals of what make for
Sir, nakamute po yata yung audio.
For a while, huh?
dress professionally. Wardrobe style is different for everyone, so you should think about what that means for you and for the role. I aim for one step up from how I would normally dress for work, since this is an interview. Sweats and the PJs will be there after it's over. It's time. Now, if you're still not feeling ready, check out our video on how to answer tricky interview questions by clicking this link right here.
help you get really good at these. This is job
How about this
science.
one?
So today, I'll be interviewing for the role of a marketing copywriter at a trendy athleisure company. Although virtual interviews do come with some new challenges, the fundamentals of what make for a successful interview remain the same. So we'll be focusing on the old and the new. And for those of you who might be doing pre-recorded interviews, keep in mind that a lot of what we cover here today can be applied to that format as well. Welcome to my bedroom. Some people prefer to do their work from home in either the kitchen or the family room. That is no good if you've got roommates or family members flying in and out, especially for making that first impression. I recommend that you use a secluded room with a door you can shut, like your bedroom. That way you can control the environment. Video calls are a window into who we are, so I like to make sure that my background is clean and tidy. This is also a simple and subtle opportunity for me to reveal a little bit about myself. I also don't want to sit too close or too far away from the camera. And it's usually most flattering if you can be lit from the front, either natural window light or a lamp placed right at or slightly above your face. And watch out for brightly lit windows behind you. They can create that dark silhouette effect. The goal here is to achieve even lighting on both me and the entire room. Please like, subscribe, and click the notification bell for more weekly tips from Indeed. And we would love to know what makes you feel confident in an interview. Please jump into the comments section below. Now, I like to double check my computer and video software settings and be sure and test out that Wi-Fi strength. We don't want your call to freeze during the interview. So now that I'm all set up, it's time for me to think about what I want to say. Before any interview, I always like to do a little research. I want to make sure I know the basics about the business, any recent news headlines, and most importantly, the job description. The goal is to sound natural and not too rehearsed. So I also like to put together a quick cheat sheet with some bulleted notes tailored to the role rather than memorizing answers. You'll want to consider strengths, weaknesses, work style, and career goals. It also helps if you can prepare some anecdotes from your current or a recent job, maybe a problem you solved or a special achievement. I'm also going to write down 3 to 5 questions of my own. Asking questions conveys enthusiasm and also signals that I've done my homework and want to learn more. And even though I'll be working from home, I think it's important to dress professionally. Wardrobe style is different for everyone, so you should think about what that means for you and for the role. I aim for one step up from how I would normally dress for work, since this is an interview. The sweats and the PJs will be there after it's over. It's time. Now, if you're still not feeling ready, check out our video on how to answer tricky interview questions by clicking this link right here. Okay, let's do this. Don't forget to silence your cell phone and desktop notifications before logging in.
Hey Ashley, there you are. Thanks for sitting down with me today.
Hi Joe, so nice to finally meet you.
So how's your day going so far?
Pretty good, thanks for asking. Except that my dog caused quite a scene on our walk this morning.
Oh no, I know how that goes. I have a Frenchie and she can be a handful.
Let's pause for a second. So he likes dogs, awesome. Engaging in small talk can help you find some common ground. Pets, the weather, it can be just about anything as long as you keep it brief and professional. I also made it a point to repeat his name. People subconsciously appreciate that, and saying it out loud will actually help you remember his name. Also, I think the small talk is going well, but I think my body language is revealing how nervous I am, so I'm going to take a moment to stop fidgeting with my hair and biting my nails. If you're like me and have nervous tics, it's okay to glance at yourself in the monitor while you're talking on screen to make little adjustments during your interview.
Can you tell me a little bit more about yourself and why do you think you'd be a good addition to the team?
Well, I have a background in writing web and email copy for fitness products, and I'm good at generating clever calls to action that deliver results. For example, my copy significantly increased our click-through rates, and sales rose over 20% last quarter alone. I'm looking to join a team that will allow me to contribute and grow even more. And because you're in the athleisure space, I think that my skills and experience would be an asset.
That's great to hear, Ashley. Our email copy could use a facelift. That said, there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen that make it tough for us to radically shift our brand voice. I wonder if you could share an example of a challenge or problem you faced and how were you able to solve it?
Whoa, that took a turn. Now, I mentioned earlier that it's good to have an anecdote handy, and then I completely forgot to prepare one in my notes. But that's okay. I'm just going to take a breath and do my best to be transparent while showing some self-awareness. Well, I don't have an example off the top of my head, but I'm always trying to think outside the box when my team and I get stuck. Actually, that just reminded me. There was this one wearable product that was actually really hard to get people interested in, and everybody knew it. When my boss put me on it at first, I was pretty intimidated. But then I realized I'm not the target demographic. My parents are. So I asked them what they liked about the product, and that inspired some new talking points. That copy is actually one of my favorite writing samples. And yes, as a result of the new copy, the product started selling.
Goes to show the power of good copy. I'd love to take a look at that sample. Can you email it to me later?
Absolutely. So I took a moment and decided to talk about one of my strengths, outside the box thinking, thanks mainly to my cheat sheet. And as you saw, it jogged my memory inadvertently about a specific win from my current job, and now the hiring manager wants to see it.
So it sounds like you're doing really well over there. Why do you want to leave?
To be honest, I'm part of a pretty large, soulless corporation, and I'm starting to feel like a cog in the wheel. My boss also isn't the sharpest tool in the shed, if you know what I mean. Whoa, time out. Okay, that didn't feel right. Even though I'm not happy with my current situation or my boss, I don't want to gossip. That's not me, and it's not what I'll be like if I get this job, so let me try that again.
So it sounds like you're doing really well over there. Why do you want to leave?
Well, I've learned a lot, but I feel like it's time for me to branch out and challenge myself in new ways. I also want to work with a smaller team than I'm part of now.
That makes total sense. Well, we are a smaller company, and our CEO has always made it a point to foster more tightly knit departments, including the creative team. We're also having a great year so far, so there's ample room for someone in this role to grow right along with us. This has been a great conversation. What questions do you have for me?
Notice how he didn't ask me if I had any questions? That's right, it's implied that you should at least have a couple. This is where my cheat sheet comes in really handy. We also have an entire video dedicated to questions to ask your interviewer. It sure sounds like a great opportunity. What are your employees like best about working here?
Well, we make it a great point to take good care of our people and to listen and respond to their needs. It's a positive collaborative working environment for everyone from the CEO to the interns. Everyone's input is valued.
That sounds ideal. I'd love to get a sense of what the company's goals are over the next year beyond just growth. Are there any big initiatives I should be aware of and how this role will contribute to that success?
Great question, Ashley. The short answer is that we're launching an entirely new line of more affordable price activewear, targeting the 18 to 24 age demographic. There are a lot of big plans for the rollout, but I'm afraid we'll have to save those details for a future conversation with you.
Fair enough, and I like the sound of that.
Do you have any more questions for me?
Nope, I think that covers it. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me today, Joe.
It was my pleasure, Ashley. Take care.
Okay, it's over! I did it! And it honestly wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. If you start to feel stressed or nervous, just try to remember that interviewing is a two-way street. You're not just there to present yourself. You're also learning about the role and whether or not working for this company feels right for you. Whatever happens next, we hope to see you one step closer to landing that dream job. If you found this video helpful, make sure that you hit the like button down below, subscribe to our channel over here, and of course hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our weekly career tips. For more job science, I recommend checking out the series playlist here. And for more help with virtual interviews, you can watch this video. See you next time.
Hey there. Looking for hacks on nailing a phone interview? I work changes the way you prepare. All right, let's get moving.
Okay.
What's looking for during an initial
May
photo screen?
bloopers ako.
Well, photo screens are typically the first round of
Anyway.
interviews.
Night video siya.
So
Huh.
a recruiter here is looking to narrow down and widen the applicants very quickly,
Right.
and then to only pass on the very best leads to the hiring manager, saving them time. Emphasis here is on speed and volume.
Sir, mag-hingi ka na ng link nung video sa messenger na lang siguro kasi once the Zoom close,
Yeah, okay,
the
sige,
message
sige. I'll
also
share it in the Yahoo in the Messenger. Okay, Facebook Messenger. Anyway, so wala na ba kayong question so far?
based on observation, parang wala na.
Very sabotable naman, Jamar, no?
Yes.
Oo, so
Yeah.
parang ano lang to, parang walkthrough lang talaga siya. Anyway, so for tomorrow, we could somehow go into some questions on, and then how to answer those questions. Be familiar with those questions para alam din natin kung paano sagutin. So anyway, so if we don't have any more questions, medyo marami-rami din yung ating na tackle, no? So we could finish this session early. Okay? And then hopefully by tomorrow we could also start early. At saka sana mas marami-rami natin tayo, no? And then anyway, just a recap lang of what we did for tonight. So basically we tried to somehow get familiar with what online job interview is, how it is contextualized, now that it has been, before pandemic, during pandemic and post-pandemic, and then how to somehow prepare ourselves for an online interview. So if you don't have any more questions, so we can call this a night, everyone. And then let's see each other tomorrow again at 6:30 in the evening.
Thank you so much for
Okay,
your time.
sige. Oops, before I let you go, may mandatory pala po na photo op. Okay, for a while.